Okay, so I missed. Okay, so sorry about that, everybody. I apologize. Okay, we can get started. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for attending the public information session. My name is Eliza Durant, and I'm here tonight with my colleague Jessica and Matt. We are in the engineering group at the City of Port Colborne, and tonight we are here to discuss the Chippawa Road intersection area in hopes to address the concerns that were raised during the citizen presentation in November of 2020. We're looking for feedback to get your ideas and hear your opinions about the designs and solutions we are proposing in this presentation. We do have a couple of housekeeping items we just would like to make everyone aware of. We would like to save questions for the presentation till the end. The presentation is being recorded, so if you would not like to have your voice or your question recorded, please feel free to send us an email with your question, or you can always contact us after the fact and we can directly work with you then. I think that's everything. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so the overview for tonight's presentation, we will be discussing the speed mitigation on Chippawa Road. We are also going to, part 2, talk about the Chippawa sidewalk proposal that we've investigated. And then we will move into the intersection reconfiguration, part 3, that Jessica will discuss, looking at what we'd like to do to the Dolphin, Chippawa, and Berkeley area. And then we'll have time for some questions and answers. Background information. So we received a presentation in November from residents of the area. I'm sure some of you are on the call tonight. And this concern was really addressing vehicle speed and volume, the lack of sidewalks, sidewalk connectivity. We have reviewed the presentation and staff have come up with an approach that we hope addresses the needs of residents, short and long-term solutions. The approach to address the issues include act now, resident engagement, and review best practices and design standards. The act now solutions are immediate to address the concerns. Resident engagement will include, we want to hear your feedback and your suggestions and opinions of what we're presenting tonight, and reviewing best practices and design standards. We have included phases where we reviewed the Ontario traffic manuals, we've reviewed Transportation Association of Canada, those standards really to apply to everything that we're looking at, including the intersection, to ensure that we're meeting the best practices, including safety, logic, and we want to focus on our attention on solutions at the intersection as we have addressed safety concerns with the existing intersection configuration. Speed mitigation on Chippawa. So we have introduced several measures to slow down traffic and improve traffic safety, including the installation of a speed radar sign. The city has ordered this sign and we have it in stock, but it is not installed. I think we're looking at installing it in the next few weeks. So we will be putting a speed radar device right off the Highway 140 at this location. It will be able to track, it will show you your speed, and it will also record data. So we will be able to look at data trends going forward and determining, what are the timestamps and hotspots of when people are speeding and how fast they are going. And that information will in turn also be provided to the Niagara Regional Police to let them know perhaps of when to go to, issue tickets. Another thing we're doing is the traffic mitigation markers. So I know that those are have been installed. We have a slide about that as well. So the traffic mitigation markers have the posted speed limits, and they have been installed as a traffic calming measure to give the feeling of a narrow lane. So we installed 3 of these devices. They are designed for urban settings to assist vehicles with driving slower, but not necessarily stopping. These will be removed during the fall and installed in the spring. So we put those in 3 locations. I know I've gone and drove down that section of Chippawa, and I do feel that they're helping. And through the survey, we've also received some input, and it seems residents are satisfied, but we would like to just confirm that as well. Okay, the next area we have looked at is redirecting Google Maps traffic. So through this, it was brought to our attention that Google Maps routes Chippawa Road instead of using the highway. We've noticed non-residents using Chippawa, and we have contacted Google and we've reported that the wrong information in the Google Maps app. So if you go onto Google, you can actually let Google know that it is wrong information and let them know that it's a no truck route and that is a local only road. And so the more people that go in, we can help change this algorithm to get the map to reroute properly onto the 140 and down Main Street. So please, after this presentation, go to Google Maps and try and request to change this algorithm. And if you need help, please feel to contact us after the presentation and we can walk you through how to do that. And then our last initiative, really our Act Now solution to help with the speed on Chippawa, is to focus on signage and moving the local access only signs for better placement. We have, so you can see on Main Street here, we had a local traffic sign and we've moved it across the street. And we are also looking at placing a through truck route on Main Street as well, so that truckers are aware that they should be going straight and not taking the local road. And we are also working with the MTO to add a third sign on the 140. So we have also placed a local traffic only sign at the entrance of Chippawa from the 140, but obviously that might be too late as trucks are already on the road to read the sign. So we're trying to work with the MTO to get them to put a local traffic only sign as well as a through truck route, so truckers again are aware. The Niagara Regional Police also have a traffic complaints hotline, and we just wanted to remind residents that this form is available on their website. You can go on and provide feedback on traffic safety issues, especially if you notice speeders or people not coming to a complete stop. The more traffic complaints they get, I think really helps drive where they issue their personnel for safety. So we just wanted to point that out as a reminder. So that concludes my section of the presentation. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to my colleague Jessica to go through part 2 regarding the Chippawa sidewalk.
Thank you, Eliza. Good evening, everyone. So I will be covering part 2 and part 3 regarding the intersection. And concerning the sidewalk, we've done a preliminary cost estimate. As you can see, there's a lot of challenges in putting in a sidewalk in this location. We've already got very narrow roads. We've got ditches on both sides, hydro poles on both sides. As you can imagine, to relocate them, to put storm drainage in, because we'd have to fill the ditches. There's a lot of, it's very costly, as well as in some instances, the road is so narrow that we'd actually almost have to purchase property due to the property lines being close to the road as well. So there's a lot of challenges financially for this, and financial implications, it comes to around $900,000 for this stretch of approximately 660 meters of sidewalk. And in comparison to the sidewalk that we recently put in Clarence, it's at least more than 4 times that cost due to all of these implications. The challenge is really great, and of course the financial implication is really high, and this shall be included. We plan to follow up with this presentation just to summarize all the feedback, everything, and we will include a little bit of the sidewalk in regards to the council report that we will submit later on, which you guys will have access to see. Eliza, next slide, please. So that kind of sums up part 2 concerning the sidewalk. So moving on to the intersection, We've already contacted the residents concerning around Berkeley Avenue to get their feedback. We've gone through a lot of design iterations for this intersection. Originally, what happened after the presentation that was made in November, we had created a design in the office and it was already council approved. So this design that we're proposing to go forward with is very, very similar. It's almost identical. You can see there's a minor, thank you, Eliza. There's a minor improvement to the stop bar and the realigning of Berkeley and Berkeley. That'll make and realign that intersection a bit nicer. But we're going to move forward with an asphalt hammerhead turnaround or a T turnaround that is garbage collection region approved. We've reached out to them as well, and we had a variety of design to make sure, do they have any preferences, and taking everything into account as a whole for the design. Part of the original design that we noticed, the stop signs were council approved to be removed. And with that, before we move to the next slide, I want to explain a bit of the design as well and what prompted all of this as well. So this did come from a bit from the presentation that was made, but the main design is what happened is with the sidewalk being relocated off of private property at the corner, it automatically narrows that already kind of narrow laneway down to about one width. So there's a multitude of things that we already have to consider and look into, which kind of did push overall, because I could imagine, well, if it was already 2 lanes, we might not be looking into it. But it's also the fact that as well, it's a very poor intersection. It's a little quirky, it's out of place, and with sightlines. So we feel it's safe, it's best safe to close that off and provide the T turnaround for garbage collection. But as you can see right beside that on Dolphin Street, the stop bar is quite set back as it is now. The new design, as this is also original as well, is to move it forward. But quickly before we go to the next couple slides, with that, the next slides show the current stop bar location sight lines, and then the next for the new proposed. In the next, yes. So as you can see, there's a new sight lines, and you can see quite well. If you could go back to the design, Eliza, real quick. But so we do have this survey option as well, and we included in the survey, but we could leave the stop signs as is. We could remove it because technically it has been proven with design, the stop signs are technically unwarranted, but receiving feedback and understanding some residents would like the stop signs for speed mitigation or whatnot, or other reasons, we've proposed that perhaps we shift those stop signs down to Dolphin Street. Right now, the intersection at Chippawa to Berkeley, where they are now, is a standard intersection. There's no real alignment issues, no sightline issues. And we propose that if we move these stop signs, perhaps they would provide greater value to everyone and safety if you're on Dolphin Street turning left onto Chippawa Road because of those sightlines. If you wanted to move ahead, Liza, thank you. As you can see, yeah, yes, sorry. Okay, so with that in mind, we have done extensive design, everything like that, but we want to present other considerations. Hopefully this is the funnest part of this consultation, because there's still stuff that we can do, and there's stuff we'd like to do to that little triangular area if possible. We're going to be constructing it, we're going to do a tender and whatnot, so we might as well try to incorporate other things if it is wanted. So if you have or have not completed the survey yet, there's some ideas for an insect garden, perhaps to put along there, a chess checkerboard installation, perhaps, a pavilion, similar to the one that we've already gotten Port Colborne shown, perhaps, memorial trees, or there's always the option, if there's something unique or an idea that you have that we might have considered, to please submit that feedback to us. I would say that that concludes our presentation now. We all really appreciate the feedback we've already received from the survey and everything like that, and for you taking your time out of your own day to show up here and to be present for this. There's the link to the website, which also includes the survey. And that's all I shall say for now. So I think we'll open it up to the floor for any questions.